This is Bangladesh, a relatively new country as it is only 50 years old. When Pakistani forces laid down arms in Bangladesh's bloody liberation war, the newly independent South Asian nation's economy was in tatters. Over 80% of the population were living in extreme poverty. In the following years, the country struggled with military coups, political turmoil, poverty and famine. In the mid-1970s, shortly after Bangladesh gained independence from Pakistan on the 16th of December 1971, Henry Kissinger dismissively called Bangladesh a basket case. Today the country has attained sustainable economic growth, significant poverty reduction, and continued improvements in human development indicators. Though is it far from being a developed country, we all should remember how it started. It has the second highest per capita income in the South Asia, even higher than India. Let's discuss the economic history of Bangladesh and ponder upon the factors that contributed to Bangladesh's accomplishment. After Bangladesh established itself as a country, the new government nationalized a number of corporations and established new corporations to manage these enterprises. This quick change, along with inexperienced economic leaders, resulted in significant disruptions in Bangladesh's industries. Starting in 1973, a 5-year development plan was instituted to improve economic conditions in Bangladesh. This program, and ones like it that followed, were responsible for a return to efficiency. The government also returned many of the state-owned businesses to the private sector. The government focused specifically on improving the road infrastructure. The government invested heavily in rural road construction in the late 1980s and the 1990s. By the mid-1980s, the country had a good network of roads linking the medium-sized cities to the larger ones, including the capital Dhaka and the major port city, Chittagong. Government also focused on revamping the agricultural sector. As the transformative potential of irrigation and high-yield rice crop got recognized, the government started liberalizing agricultural input markets in the 1980s. It removed certain restrictions on the import of pumps and small diesel engines used for irrigation, and privatized the distribution and import of fertilizers. Meanwhile, in the industrial sector, two policy innovations in the mid-1980s, the back-to-back letter of credit and duty drawback facilities through bonded warehouses, removed two major constraints for the country's fledgling garment industry. The first allowed a garment manufacturer to obtain letters of credit from domestic banks to finance its import of inputs, by showing letters of credit from foreign buyers of garments. The second reimbursed manufacturers the duty paid on imported inputs on proof that the inflow of the 1980s. The transformative policy and public investment actions of the 1980s and 1990s expanded the horizons of Bangladeshi entrepreneurs, from the small farmers to the garment exporters. The acceleration in garment exports helped the country earn valuable foreign exchange and maintain macroeconomic stability. The garment industry emerged as one of the nation's success stories in recent decades. It is the second largest globally, only surpassed by China, and rakes in over $35 billion a year from exports. The sector employs 4 million people, the majority of whom are women, contributing to female empowerment. Because the bulk of the garment workforce was rural women, this also resulted in a huge infusion of funds to rural Bangladesh. The increased incomes in rural Bangladesh also supported the growth of rural non-farm activities, which expanded significantly alongside agricultural growth. This all was complemented by remittance inflows from overseas Bangladeshi, which increased sharply from the start of the century, from $1.7 billion in 1997 to over $15 billion in 2014. In 2021, Bangladeshi workers employed abroad transferred nearly $24.7 billion. This story of policy actions leading to transformative change did continue in the coming decades. For example, liberalization of telecommunications starting in the early 1990s has led to mobile phone subscriptions exceeding population size by 2019, and a power sector program after 2010 has helped to increase power generation capacity from 3,700 megawatts in 2007 to 13,000 megawatts in 2019. With a GDP of over $409 billion, Bangladesh has become the world's 37th largest economy, and forecasts suggest that the size of the economy could double by 2030. While it was primarily an agricultural economy in 1971, the composition has changed over the decades, with industry and services now accounting for the lion's share of economic output. Agriculture's share of GDP has dropped to just 13%. It was the availability of job opportunities outside agriculture that drove economic development. Hence we can say that government has been a major player in the development journey of Bangladesh since independence in 1971. However, the road to development is far from complete. It is to be recognized that there are continuing challenges in the economic and social fronts for Bangladesh to graduate to a middle-income country. Bangladesh still has much poverty and hardship, rising inequality, and an uncertain future trajectory. While poverty reduction has a diminishing trend, with a population base of around 170 million, 20% are still living below the poverty line. The health and nutrition indicators too warrant further improvements to meet the SDG goals. Bangladesh, especially its coastal belts, is highly vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change, which includes storm surges, drainage congestion and sea level rise. Most of Bangladesh is less than 10 meters above the sea level. While Bangladesh receives accolades for its socio-economic development indicators, its scorecard on human rights and governance are a concern. Political violence, primarily leading to injuries, extrajudicial killings, lynchings, physical attacks on journalists are not uncommon in Bangladesh. The government in Bangladesh does not score well on conventional indicators of transparency or effectiveness. Climate change and rising sea levels continue to pose significant dangers, and political instability could yet re-emerge and disrupt economic progress. There are faults in the education sector as well. Despite the steep rise in the number of children going to school, the quality of education remains poor, posing a major challenge to the development of a skilled workforce. One thing for which we would give credit to Bangladesh is religious harmony. Many countries have succumbed to religious fundamentalism, with disastrous consequences for their economies. Bangladesh is notable for having withstood this danger. Its buoyant, vibrant economy, now with a 50-year track record, is testimony to this success. The biggest challenge Bangladesh faces is related to how the country ensures that the fruits of growth and development reach people at the bottom of the economic pyramid. Bangladesh has drafted plans to tackle the previously stated challenges. The Bangladesh government's Vision 2041 stipulates to eliminate extreme poverty and secure upper middle income country status by 2031 and achieve the high income country status by 2041. To face the challenges, Bangladesh will have to boost the productivity of its abundant labor force with investment in productivity enhancing skills development, efficient infrastructure, machinery and technology supported by a well-functioning and efficient financial system. Bangladesh will also need to rebalance the economy towards domestic demand while export orientation remains in place. Here the video comes to an end. What is journey it has been for this country. From being one of the poorest countries in the world to becoming an economic miracle. Although there is a lot more information and history that we had to cut out due to the length of the video. We have also made a video on the creation of Bangladesh, do consider watching it. Please share your opinion regarding this country in the comment section. Do you think that Bangladesh will be the economic leader in South Asia rather than India or Pakistan? I want every viewer to answer this question in the comments, and I will reply to everyone as well. Do leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Follow us on Twitter to engage with us. Subscribe to stay updated and share our videos. Till then, goodbye.